All right, folks, we'll go ahead and dive in. For those of y'all that don't know me, my name's Zack Knight. I'm the founder of ATL Vets, which is Advancing the Line for Veterans. We're down here in Tampa, advancing the line for veterans in Tampa. And a big piece of that, of what we're doing and able to do it, is obviously because of the Center Club. I'm an invited club member. I've been a part of invited clubs for about 5 years now. And it's been one of the greatest points of me as a business owner and a veteran to expand into the world of business ownership. So when I started expanding, right now, our organization's in Atlanta, Tampa, Virginia Beach, and Washington, D.C. As I started expanding, I wanted to reach out into other invited clubs because it's been so good to me in Atlanta. I wanted to further that and bring veterans into this space because I think this is a great space for veterans to be and learn and grow from non-veterans. Because I truly believe we're only as strong as our non-veteran supporters. One of those greatest supporters is actually this lady to my right, who is the head honcho, we'll say. Is George around? Hang on. The head honcho of the Center Club, the membership director here, Crystal. She's the one that has really, truly empowered us to be here time and time again. This is the second event we've done here, looking to do it more and more. But I do want to give her a quick second to talk a little bit about Center Club and what veterans mean to the Center Club and the impact we're trying to make here. So please.
So it's just important to my heart and to our membership base to, number one, obviously, thank all of our veterans for their service. So I'd absolutely thank you for being here. And I wanted to kind of create a part of my vision when I started with Center Club about a year ago, was to reach into our membership base and have more involvement in our community when it comes to our veteran membership base. And then when Zack shared with me his mission about helping veterans with non-veteran community and that support, that spoke to my heart too. So I would love to see you guys attend more events here and kind of reach out and kind of grow with kind of our combined powers here. Most of the faces around the room I see are members of either this club or even affiliate club. But I am the membership director, and although that's not my primary agenda this evening, if you do have any questions about membership, feel free to grab me. Be happy to have you back at the club and play those options for you.
And there's a separate veteran fee. There's separate veteran fees.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Oh, there's so many different things.
Special rates for our veteran membership. So that is absolutely something good to bring up. And then the secondary thing, great teamwork, guys, is that we are offering a complimentary lunch to our veterans on Friday. So if you were not aware of that as a member, make sure you get in the app and get registered and get signed up for that so we can be prepared for you. But we'd love to have that be an extension of a thank you for your service.
Awesome. Thank you. Give her a round of applause, y'all. So one of the things I do when I host these events, I'm big on, in Atlanta, I call them battle brews. Battle's my for-profit side. There's always a brew, which means if you don't have a beverage, shame on you. Go ahead and get a beverage because that is an important piece of it. I always keep these events very fireside chat-esque, right? I want to make sure it's relaxed. We're all drinking a nice beverage. I prefer bourbon. I guess we're going with wine at the table as well. That's the judgment piece, right?
Judge me.
Right. I have to a little bit. So I'm an Army guy, so I'm going to talk a little bit of smack to everybody, pretty much, unless you're in the Marine Corps. Any Marines in here? Yeah, Marines aren't fancy enough to be in here. So as the ranking military member and being an Army guy, I'm going to talk a lot about smack. We don't care about Navy or Air Force. Like y'all are way smarter than us, honestly. But I want this to be very interactive. So we're going to chat. I'm going to highlight a little bit about what Valerie's doing here in Tampa. Highlight some of the amazing impact she's making. Again, this is being recorded. So if you say something silly, I'm going to make sure that goes on TikTok and Instagram. So please do say something silly. But at the end of this, I am going to take some time to engage with y'all. And if y'all have any questions or comments with Valerie, I want to make sure that we can engage and we can find out, since she is Tampa based, what she's doing to support veterans here and how maybe she can support y'all as well. So that's the initial kickoff, but I'm going to turn over. I have some notes of all the things written. Miss Valerie Lavin, is that pronounced properly? Lavin. Is it Lavin? From the South. I can't pronounce anything properly. So pronounce it properly.
Lavin.
Lavin.
Like Lavin.
Lavin? Just no O.
Just no
Got
O.
it. Perfect. So can y'all hear me okay? Can y'all hear Valerie okay? She's like the soft-spoken one. I can tell already.
He's
So
still getting to know me.
yeah, so it's funny as we were getting mic'd up, Crystal was like, I don't know if she's soft-spoken, and then somebody behind her was like,
No.
so this should be pretty good. But overall, obviously, you have a lot going on in business. You have a lot going on in Tampa. I want to give you an opportunity. Give us a little highlight about military branch, what you do, how long you've been in Tampa. Don't dive into the business stuff yet. But just tell us a little bit about who you are that we might not know from beyond your bio, if you will.
Well, I retired from the Army in 2014. I got
Our
stationed.
Army, right?
Yeah.
Just checking.
I retired at a central, or I got stationed at Central Command in 2011, late 2011, after returning from Ramadi, Iraq with 3rd Infantry Division at Fort Stewart, Georgia. And, you know, I'm in the middle of the desert and I call branch and I'm like, you know, where do you want to send me next? Or what are your plans for me? And literally asked me where do I want to go. And at that point, I'd been in the Army, I think 17 years, and no one had ever asked me, where do I want to go? But ironically, I had just got passed over for Sergeant Major, first look, secondary zone. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do when I grow up? So I opened up a map of the United States and I want to retire in Tampa. I'd never been here, but I was just like, it looks like a great place to be. So I asked for Hawaii, no. How about Germany? No. And never thought that when I asked if I could get Tampa, Central Command, they would say yes. So I walked into the Sergeant Major's meeting after that phone call with my pink Tupperware because he hated pink. And it's like, I'm going to Central Command. And that's how I got here.
So Central Command, who else familiar with like the SOCOM Central Command stuff here? All right, so it's well known. I know for me, I was a SOCOM guy, but I was never in Tampa. I actually was attached to 3rd ID myself for a little while. So it's always interesting to see Tampa's like a heavy military arena. I didn't really know that until I started diving into where we would expand. Tampa's the first city we actually expanded to out of Atlanta. I didn't realize how like heavy veteran centric Tampa really is. And actually, a big shout out to Gary. If you'll smile and wave, he came up to an event in Atlanta. He said, "Hey man, you've got to do this in Tampa because this is too strong of a community." And I'm curious, as you moved here, military side, did you immediately find a veteran community and like or a community to jump into as you transitioned out? Or has this been something that's more of a newer? I know Tampa's been growing like crazy. Is it a more of a newer revolution that is more veteran based as you've seen it?
I've seen a lot of changes in Tampa. When I first was assigned there, you know, I was straight from the deserts to palm trees, you know, it's a totally different world. But what I loved about coming to Tampa is that there's the quality of life. You know, you can find something new to do every single day of the week, every month. There's some sort of crazy celebration. You're either in a costume or bathing suit, you know, and
So it's like from Ybor to Madeira.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the stretch
right.
there?
Or, you know, Clearwater Beach. And
Yeah.
I'm a super social person. So, and I like to explore. I fell in love with Tampa as a community, you know, for the quality of life. As far as like in the veteran community, I mean, I went from being a first sergeant to, you know, here they don't have first sergeant positions, so master sergeant running, you know, various organizations within the J2 when I got here. So the veteran community, I wasn't exposed to the veteran community because I was not a veteran yet.
Right.
You know, when you are still serving active duty, what's going on inside the fence, so to speak, and outside the fence, it's totally different. It wasn't until my very last position at Central Command was the Commandant Headquarters First Sergeant, Command Sergeant Major Grippy. He said, hey, Val, and he punches me in the chest and he said, you know, Sergeant Major Grippy. Oh, you don't? Okay. Anyway, he
punching the chest.
yeah,
Okay.
he's a chest puncher.
Yeah.
But he said, I need you to fill in between sergeant majors. There's generally a sergeant major position. I'm like, sergeant major, I have retirement papers in hand. Like, there's nobody else that can do this. He said, I don't trust anybody else. And so, you know, Master Sergeant Ellis at the time, you know, there's nothing I wouldn't have done to serve, right? So I took the position, and it just so happened part of the time, I think it was about 8 months that I filled the gap. it was during the holidays. And you know how it is in the holidays, the community wants to give to the active duty. So I was collecting candy and toys and turkeys and ham, you know, all these holiday things. And it started from Halloween through the New Year. And that's when I started getting exposed to the Tampa community at large. And that gave me an opportunity to start building my network outside the fence, which was just as spectacular as all of the beach opportunities, you know, the costume parties and the, you know, opportunities to wear your bathing suit. The Tampa Bay community was very welcoming from the moment that I said, hey, I'm the CENTCOM Commandant Headquarters First Sergeant. I am your point of contact for delivering turkey or, you know, bringing gifts. And it was pretty amazing. Also during that time, I was attending, because it was part of my job, if you will, Women in Defense, NDIA, which is National Defense Industry Association, AFCEA, and other organizations, but Women in Defense specifically. I would, you know, go to their monthly luncheons. And what struck me the most is even though I was coming in uniform, almost everybody remembered me by my first name.
Wow.
Which the first sergeant, I'm like, oh, I'm First Sergeant Ellis. But what that, how it made me feel was, how do I put it? They recognize me from me. They remember me. Outside of the uniform and the diamond and the, you know, the position.
And I know not many Army or Marines in here, but did you do the knife hand? Did you have like the knife hand master?
There is a
Oh, there it is.
regulation on the knife hand.
All right. So for everybody that's not Army or Marines in here, do y'all know what the knife hand is? There's like blank stares. There's, oh man. All
Because
right.
you don't point
You don't
in the
point.
military. So
In
you
the
have
Army, in the Army don't point. In the Navy,
Yeah.
it's like, oh look, there's a beach over there, and that's how they come to Tampa.
yeah.
So it's funny in the Army. That was funny, right? That was good. Sorry. I'm heading to Virginia Beach tomorrow. It's all Navy, so I'm getting my Navy jokes warmed up. But in the Army, there's the knife hand, and it's like you have to like that's how you talk to somebody as a first sergeant. They're like terrifying, no matter their stature. They're terrifying because if they get in your face and they start knife handing you, you know you've screwed up. And I can just see First Sergeant Ellis up here coming in knife handing people.
Yeah.
Have you found that you've had to use the knife hand in the civilian world at all? Out of curiosity,
I dream about it. I don't do it. I joke often that I was issued a smile with my DD 214. I mean, it was a transition, going from the facade of being, you know, a leader in the military to now being a business professional. That transition from combat boots and camouflage to skirt and heels is tremendous for me. I can remember going, it's so funny. It's TAPS, you know, that says business casual, right?
Mhm.
And I didn't know anything about like dressing for a civilian job, but I knew that business casual in the military is khakis and polos, right? I knew that wasn't appropriate. So Jeremy, my now husband, excuse me, was in the recruiting industry for his whole career before I stole him from his firm. But I said, sit down, like, and just, I'm going to come out with these outfits and you tell me if they're appropriate for me to wear the tap. And he would, you know, it's like, oh, you look fine. I was like, are you sure? Is this too girly? You know, is it too feminine? Or is the skirt too short? Or the heels too? It was probably the most nerve-wracking and intimidating thing in transition at the beginning was how to dress appropriately.
And it's something that's kind of entertaining. I was going to say funny, but that's the wrong word, right?
Allergies.
It's kind of entertaining to see how much of a struggle that is. And I was in service from police to military for 15 years, and you're issued a uniform, right? You never think about what you have to wear. One of the funny things that I found as we transition, even as a guy, most guys, we wake up, like, I don't even brush my hair in the morning, and then you just put whatever you want on. Come on, that was good too, right? I put the polish on, you know, but we don't think about that piece, especially as men. It's just not as much of a concern as it is for the ladies. But one of the things that I found is that's like a common struggle. And one of the things that ATL Vets is founded on We're actually focused on four things. We have four pillars we focus on. The very first thing is marketing. And a lot of people these days think marketing is social media, which it is to an extent, right? We have all the video, the social media, we have all that piece of it, but marketing yourself. And that's a very difficult thing. And it comes down to like, how do you dress? And I understand when I come in here, I saw a couple other tattoos and sleeves finally getting rolled up, right? There's a piece as a veteran, we're tattooed up and I have earrings and I look like a vet, right? There are also times where I'm in a suit and you don't want to look like a vet necessarily because you have to be a little bit more prim and proper. When you talk about that piece and learning how to market yourself more or market yourself in general, in the military, we didn't have to. What would you say would be a good piece of advice for veterans out there that are transitioning to start learning how to market themselves for corporate or business or that next step in their life?
Well, for me as a woman, I discovered White House Black Market, which was like the best thing because I was like,
you have to explain that to the guys. I don't know.
yeah, it's a store and essentially everything's black and white. Every once in a while they throw a color this season.
Sounds
But
like
I
she would love that. All
yeah,
she does is wear black. All of
yeah, I walked in there and I was like, wait, everything in here matches? Like I don't have to think about
the
what
same shade of black.
yeah, I mean it really was my saving grace because I didn't have to put a lot of thought into it. But one thing I do tell transitioning veterans is about their personal brand is do not, under any circumstance, because it's really exciting to wear civilian clothes you were here. I heard it. Nancy, yeah, Nancy's like, I love her. It is really exciting to, wear civilian clothes for the first time, like every day. But do not go out and buy an entire new wardrobe as soon as you transition. Because a lot of times your wardrobe is going to be dictated by your profession, the job you get. And I made that mistake. I was like, oh, everything's black and white. I can match, And then I just happened to go work for a short time for Paul Huszar at Vet Corps Services. He'd been asking me to come work for him before I'd even retired.
He said to give his apologies he couldn't make it here. I know Paul from podcasting world.
Oh, yeah.
He was here last time and said he was sorry he couldn't be here with you.
He's recovering from his Ironman.
Yes.
No, but in Vet Corps, it was like khaki pants and a polo shirt. And I was like, oh, I can't wear my black dress that I just paid way too much money for. So, and I had personally prepared for that. I put together, I put aside money for my transition wardrobe. But you're going to change, you're going to evolve. And I equate it to think about back when you were a private, or a seaman or an airman. And as you transition from rank to rank and your professional circle of who you are now in closed door meetings with, and then they expand to your personal circle, like you're constantly changing. And that's going to happen when you transition to the civilian world as well. What you are wearing at your first job, it's statistically speaking, most veterans, the percentage eludes me right now, but it's very high. You will not stay in that first job, and then the second job might require you to wear khakis and polo.
As you say, we were just talking to Tony. We were just talking about, he said, vets are more likely. He gave me a statistic I didn't realize. I've never been in the corporate world. I went from military to entrepreneurship. But he was saying veterans are like 2 to 3 times more likely to leave their first 2 or 3 jobs before they find something they're happy with.
Yeah.
Because it's such a shift.
Right.
Compared to day to day, right?
It's just transition or learning and this is why I loved entrepreneurship and being exposed to it. My journey as an entrepreneur really taught me who Valerie really was versus First Sergeant Ellis. Actually, it was like hands on the hips, like
Wonder Woman /
yeah. But with the personal branding, I think that that is an evolution that comes over time, and it happens as you're exposed to new people, new professions, new opportunities, the different networking events that you go to, and then you kind of figure out I recommend trying to figure out what your niche is. Veterans we have bleeding hearts. Like this is part of the reason why I think there should be more military founded companies, because we have an inherent love for God and country. So where was I going with that? God and country, God and country. Anyway, God and
Period,
country. Yeah.
exclamation point, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. The branding is we want to give to all the causes: homelessness, unemployment. An organization that raises money because a Vietnam veteran or World War II veteran, their home is falling apart. And I was just running myself ragged trying to support all of these causes, and I just started to narrow it down to my niche, which is small business ownership. Yep. And helping veterans and their families become entrepreneurs. And if a cause doesn't touch that, then I have to respectfully, decline. But anyway, back to the branding is that my personal brand, and not the way I dress, but who Valerie is very hyper focused on helping to start, building, grow more military founded companies.
I think that's a big piece. And we were talking about like really niching down and figuring out what that passion is, right? A big piece of our mission statement is actually for veterans to find a renewed mission, purpose, passion after the uniform. For me, my transition, how many had like a great trend? Let's back up. How many veterans are in the room? So we got vets. How many vets had a really terrible transition into the civilian world?
But I think I think terrible is relative though.
So all right. How many veterans almost became a statistic? I'll put that number out there. So I'm the only one with a really bad transition. Okay. So for me,
I've been retired 10 years next year and I still struggle with transition.
It's tough, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big piece, that finding that new purpose and passion, right? Whether that's, I know we were talking to Melvin a minute ago, he's talking about golf and creating something for veterans to learn how to play golf. For me, it's entrepreneurship and business as well, because I feel like it's a great way to take what our skill set was in the military. Whether it's, for me, I love operations side, right? I'm the weirdo for small business that writes a business plan on the weekend because it's fun. And I like writing SOPs. I know.
Said no one ever.
So no one ever. But I find like that was my specialty in business. I got my MBA in operations, and it's like, oh man, I can write a business plan in a weekend and I'm entertained by that. And I'm like a weirdo, right? But it's that one piece of like, I can really serve veterans, because for a lot of vets, for a lot of people, entrepreneurs in general, it's hard to get that structured mindset, right? Mm-hmm. When you talk about helping small businesses, there a piece from your background that you're now moving forward that you love, like really, oh, this piece is what I'm helping the most with?
So I used to, I am a networker. I know a lot of people. I know people within organizations, and folks will always come to me. As a matter of fact, Melvin sent me a message today. Hey, do you know anybody in this golf tournament that Post 9/11 Veterans is having a golf tournament? My nonprofit Action Zone, or our nonprofit, Rosie's here, Action Zone is a sponsor. And he said, hey, do you know anybody in this organization? I was like, yes. He said, of course you do. And I would just connect and eject. I would call myself the connect and eject girl. You want to know somebody, I probably know somebody or know somebody that knows somebody.
I want to pause you on that piece, because this is really fascinating. When you said it earlier, I didn't want to interject on it. How many people like network like crazy? How many have ever felt like they were broke because they kept networking and it never translated? The broke networker, right? So when you said connect and eject, I love the shift that you've put on there. And I'm surprised her. She gave me a rundown of like, hey, I want to talk about this a little bit. I'm like, oh, this is a great topic, because for me, I've seen so many, especially in entrepreneurship. Hey, let me introduce you to Taylor. And then I step out, and then nobody remembers like I made that happen. So like I don't get any value out of that, right? Besides feeling good and potentially, hopefully something happens. But you've made a great shift. You don't connect and eject anymore. And now you've shifted a piece of what I want you to highlight. But I just wanted to see that relativity, like, oh, we love networking, but then we forget the intentionality behind networking. And I feel like you've done a really good job of shifting that. So continue, please, on that.
Well, let me just clarify one thing with the connect and eject. If I know that both parties are of character and value, I do that. I'm like, and anybody who's gotten a connection email from me, I was like, I trust you too. We'll take it from here. Yep. That's my closing line. But if somebody has asked me to connect them to an organization or a person, and I don't know them that well, I will contact that person ahead of time and just be like, hey, I'm about ready to make an introduction. I met this person once, or I've not met this person. I cannot validate
Put that,
or
like,
verify,
disclaimer across the
right,
bottom.
verify. But because I'm a visionary and I see connections and dots that other people don't see, which is what makes me my networking valuable. I was like, I see some value here. You make the decision, because at the end of the day, I mean, I've known Bill for a long time. I may not know all the what's the word, Rosie? Intricacies. Rosie's my grammar police. She's my dictionary. She's my
We love
captain.
Rose.
Yeah, I love her. Yeah. Uh, about what's going on with him. So he would be able to have a better assessment of if that connection, even though I think I see it, he will. So I don't want to rob those connections. So that's how I do it. But what I know after, I mean, I've been in the entrepreneurship education space since 2015, both locally and nationally, that I have more value to growing companies than just the connect and eject role, right? So I'm starting to take more purposeful positions in companies, whether it's board advisor or as a consultant, because I'm like, if I'm can bring more to you than connections. I can actually help you scale and grow your business. But I only do that with businesses that where the end state is to exit. Yeah. Just because, you know, if it's not a company that's the end state is to exit, then they get Valerie from Action Zone,
Right.
which is different than Valerie Lavin, the business person.
Right. And I love that shift. And it's an interesting piece because it normally you don't start with, I'm the consultant that can bring all this value, right? There's generally years of that nobody really sees. And then all of a sudden you're an expert. And you're like, no, I've spent 20 years doing this piece of it to grow that expertise. And obviously part of that expertise is off to my right here. And I want to talk about it a little bit. And y'all make sure as y'all take photos, if y'all want to grab a photo with Valerie, do it in front of the logo, like the marketing piece, right? There's a big piece of, like, as we share on social media and we post things, make sure that the content's there for the company, because it's one of her big pieces that she's highlighting here. But at Luminary, obviously you're working on different things with emergency products, public safety. That's the first one. We have, let's just say she's a busy lady. We have a couple others we're going to talk about as well, but can you give us a rundown of Luminary and what you're doing with that company?
Yeah, so we sell emergency and trauma kits, military tactical gear, and prepper items. And while we touch, you know, the direct consumer space, B2B and B2G, business and business to government, our true niche are the P card holders at different agencies. So firefighters, law enforcement, different municipalities, that is kind of the sweet spot that we've been able to hit. And that is largely because my husband, Jeremy, has a significant experience prior to us meeting in government contracting and proposal writing. So he can get a grant that a small, you know, fire station or county has received. And it happens all the time. Hey, Jeremy, we just got a $2,500 grant. What can we get off of our wish list? Here's, you know, what we can spend the money on. So that's just a value added that our company has, you know, because of Jeremy's experience. We do commercial off-the-shelf COTS products, but we also customize, and we do customization from the guts of the kits, as I call it. And so our most recent customer, Prince William County, Virginia Fire Department, they wanted to outfit all of their stations with EMT bags. But believe it or not, unlike the military, a lot of these organizations, they're not standardized. So they needed help with standardization. So we can go in and help them standardize their kits. We allow them to do RDT&E and, you know, figure that out. But then we also customize from like the vision. And I have one of the bags that I personally designed myself for Pasco Sheriff's Department. They wanted something that in Pasco County is local here, but the purchasing is still stuck in procurement. But anyway, we won't go there. They wanted a kit that fit in their cargo pocket and on their Angel armor. And, you know, my experience, I was like, when you're in the thick of shit, you're on the battlefield, we all have those emergency kits, the first aid kits, where you got to pull everything out to get what we want, right? So I designed it with a quick release. The strap has all of the items. We worked with the agency doc to be like, okay, what do you train? How do you train them? What are the supplies? And they just go down the strap and they pull it. And what this does, it's multifaceted. When they pull it out, everything is right there. It's not all over the battlefield, so to speak.
Flying as you
Right.
flick it
Yeah.
out.
And then they just go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that also eliminates human error, because no matter how well we're trained, sometimes we are human and we're going to err. So those are like fun things that we do. Did I answer your question?
You did. No, you nailed it. And then you took it a step further. One of the newer projects you have is called VITAC,
Yeah.
which is a similar organization, but it's a little bit more customly curated
Yeah.
for we'll say the adventurer, maybe.
Yeah.
But more of that higher level individual that needs something that's a med kit, but isn't necessarily I'm gonna go patch somebody else up. So
Yeah.
you extended it a little bit further. Tell us a little bit about VITAC.
So VITAC came out of nowhere. It was completely unexpected. And Justin McAllister is an Action Zone alumni. He's also an Army Green Beret, retired Green Beret. And he randomly sent me a text and he said, I don't know if he wants me to put this on live social media. Sorry, Justin. I haven't signed anything yet.
No NDAs. Good. Okay.
He said, if you're ever looking to sell or take on a partner with Luminary, keep me on the short list. I was like, well, that's curious. So anyway, we met and the conversation, evolved and brought in Jeremy, and Jeremy, kind of thought about it. And Justin said, I'd like to bring in some of, other partners. So we all met and we all just clicked immediately. So that purpose of VITAC is, and I didn't know this because I was not a Green Beret, even though I was a very scary first sergeant. There is a term that Green Berets use called safety third. And we all do this. So for example, I went to Costa Rica once, went whitewater rafting. As we're walking to the place to get into the raft, we see alligators in the river that, we're going to be rafting in. And there's signs and they're like, this, if you're going to turn around, this is the point in which you turn around. And I was like,
as they're crawling on the shore, I'm like, step over that one. Don't worry about that one.
I was like,
Bob over here is fine.
This is one of the things that I wanted to do, and I'm still gonna whitewater raft. I don't care about those alligators. They bite me, and I don't know, they'll die. So we adventurous, we want to do these we do these activities knowing that there is an inherent risk, but we go in prepared, right? Where Luminary, our B2C market, our direct to consumer market, they are the ones that want to be prepared before they think about the adventure, right? Where VITAC, our customers are the adventurers that are like, okay, I know I have to be prepared, but I'm still going to do it anyway, right? Safety third. So the other 3 partners, all Green Berets, all of our kits are especially curated for very specific adventurous type activities by a Green Beret medic who recently, I think it was last year, was identified as the Green Beret Medic of the Year or Army Medic of the Year. I can't remember. But anyway, that's the difference between Luminary and VITAC.
And I have to say a piece on that. I deployed the Green Berets in 2019, spent time with the medics attached to it. To have that level of expertise attached to a product that's consumer purchasable is huge. So I think that's a really fascinating piece to kind of highlight that this isn't just something that kind of low key. This is like, hey, you'll actually be able to do essentially field stitch, right? All of a sudden you're a doctor in the field.
Well, with Luminary, we always say like, you shouldn't have to be a professional to have good quality emergency supplies on hand. We're not selling the boo-boo kits that you can get from Walmart or Target, which, there's people who want because they're cute and they're symmetrical, I
pictured the Flintstones type of boo.
Yeah. So, Luminary products are very high quality, but VITAC takes it just a step further for those, extremists. essentially. And as a matter of fact, our medic is on the committee for the TCCC card. You know, so yeah, lots of expertise going into every single, not just the bag itself and the functionality of the bags, making sure that it's easy to get into, but every single thing, from the liquid skin to, you know, the shears.
I love that. And
Mhm.
the last piece that we want to highlight is something that's kind of the passion piece for me. As I was transitioning, we've both been a part of an organization I won't mention because I don't want to badmouth any other veteran organizations. We were both part of an organization. The Atlanta branch was not nearly as robust, if you will, as the Tampa branch. Your experience was different than mine. Seemed a little bit more enjoyable for you.
Well, partly because of my battle buddy over there, Bill.
So that was a piece of it. So when I transitioned out, I already had a side hustle, and I've been offered about 8 figures for the side hustle. Turned it down for altruistic reasons, but wanted to figure out how do I make that bigger and better. And my biggest struggle was finding a veteran entrepreneurship community in Atlanta. Couldn't find it. Therefore, I started ATL Vets, which is Advancing the Line for Veterans, with a play on branding and marketing being ATL Atlanta, because we're based in Atlanta. So there's a little bit of a play there, but I wanted to find, essentially it was a mission to turn over rocks. Where are the veteran entrepreneurs across the country? Because I think vets make some of the best business owners. We have a different mindset. We love teamwork. We love collaboration. There's just a shining light there that I see in veterans to be entrepreneurs. And it shifts to turning over a rock, getting an introduction. And all of a sudden we're talking about a local Tampa organization that essentially does that here locally in Tampa, and it's called Action Zone. And we have the brains behind Action Zone
Yes,
over
we do.
here.
Lee.
The dictionary, the thesaurus, but Action Zone here is really focused on veterans and entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
And it's something that I've really driven hard with my organization is to find we can't be everywhere at the same time, right? We come down to Tampa every couple months. We want to be engaged here, but at the end of the day, we need community partners. And that led to a very beautiful thing that you are working on that I want to highlight for the locals here in the room. Is anybody not local in the room? It's pretty much just us two, right? So everybody here can use this resource or knows a veteran that could use this resource. Tell us a little bit about Action Zone.
Yep, so we're an entrepreneur service organization, and we help veterans and their family members, military spouses, and adult children dependents start building, grow their own businesses. And it can be everything from ideation, like the butterflies in their stomach. They're not really sure what they want to do, if they have an idea at all, or they don't want to tell you their idea because they're afraid you're going to steal it, to entrepreneur. Yeah, right. Well, and that's part of the point, or part of the reason why we started Action Zone, or entrepreneurship through acquisition. I mean, we've helped from the gamut, from $0, not even an LLC, to already generating multi-million dollars, or have been in business for 20 years and they're still what I call, reference living paycheck to paycheck, not generating any revenue. The whole intent with Action Zone was to create an organization that could be as agile and nimble and move as fast as entrepreneurs. Rosie and I got our start in the space of entrepreneurship education, a local community college that was doing amazing things, but because of the bureaucracy and the red tape and tenured professors of academia, we just couldn't. We were what's the word I'm looking for?
Stonewalled by all the
no, we just were not trapped, but we just couldn't move fast enough to support the entrepreneur, because again, we all know that small business owners in here, like you have to move.
Right.
So Rosie, we came in the office one day and she said, why don't we start a nonprofit? And I like, let's do it. And I think she was startled. I think she was expecting me to say, what the hell are you thinking? But I mean, I'm a 150 mile an hour kind of person. And I'm, the type that, well, we'll sew the parachute, on the way down. And so we did. We formed.
Jumping out of a perfectly good plane in the first place.
Yeah,
I never understood that, but now your parachute has holes in it. You're sewing it up as you go.
So we formed in May of 2018 and we got our first grant in June of 2018. So when I say choking from the fire hose, we were choking from the fire hose. But the success of Action Zone is that we were founded by all veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs. And in order to be a facilitator, you have to be an entrepreneur. So Rosie and I are the original co-founders. We reached out to two other veteran entrepreneurs that we knew, George Zorko and Donnie Nunberger. And yeah, we just did it. And it was hard, but it was amazing. And 5.5 years later, we've helped launch over 200 businesses, and they're reporting over 18 million in earned revenue. And there's other numbers in there, but those are the only two numbers that I remember. Rosie can tell you everything else. But Action Zone, the intent is to be a safe place for veterans to explore entrepreneurship, like as not a dirty word or something for them to be laughed at, and learn how to fail safely. And because I try to explain this to people all the time in the military, failure is not an option because failure literally can lead to death. And we are so afraid as military members to fail, for various reasons, but ultimately is because somebody on the battlefield could die. In entrepreneurship, fail forward, fail fast is encouraged. And it took me a very long time to wrap my head around that. As a matter of fact, my first company was a veteran talent acquisition. I like to say talent acquisition because it sounds fancier than staffing or recruiting company. And it failed miserably. And it took me a very long time to admit that it failed, because I was like, in my head, I knew it failed, but having the courage and being comfortable with actually saying it, totally different.
It is. And I think that's a beautiful part of the journey. And as we travel the country, like a big piece of our mission with ATL Vets is uncovering these types of stories. Like I love this piece of it because at the end of the day, there's something so much bigger than all of us, bigger than the veteran, but also veterans. We have such a great connection with each other. But we also realize is we need the non-veterans, right? As we transition out, we need the non-veteran community as our support system. Because when we jump out into this scary world of things, we need to start integrating into what is entrepreneurship, what is a business club. There's so many vets that come here that have no idea. Oh, I didn't know there was something like this that existed. But then also we don't feel comfortable here necessarily. So a big piece of this is like, how do we turn over the rocks if veterans are making an impact, but also bring them into this world where we can co-work in a way that makes sense for a veteran to learn and grow and find mentors, essentially. And as we do all of this and we start turning these rocks over, a big piece I always ask, because there's so much more. I'm sure you're the type to put thought into this, but I'm always curious, the legacy. There's a legacy of joining the military, the service, the piece that we always work on. What's the legacy you want to leave on Tampa and the world with everything you're working on?
I think it just at the end of the day, it's just if somebody wanted to explore entrepreneurship, I was able to help guide them down the path, not walk them down the path, but just say, this is not, you are not the first veteran that's ever thought about starting your own business. My father, to make a long story short, because I might get emotional, he is an entrepreneur, a lifelong entrepreneur. And he actually had a bar in Vietnam. That was, one of his business ventures. Then when he finally stopped going back to Vietnam, both as a soldier and a contractor, and he had a pet store in Alexandria. We moved to Missouri and Alexandria, Virginia, and then we moved to Missouri, and he had a septic tank business, and then from there he had a trucking brokerage, kind of business. And I remember him saying to me, I was probably still in my 20s, very early in my Army career, but the one thing he had not in his mind been successful at was to be a small business owner, And I think that had he had a community of other veterans that were also business owners, he would have realized that he was very successful, even though the businesses changed over the year, and it had a lot to do with, access to capital, or, just the location and the environment that we lived. But some of the biggest company names that we know, FedEx, Siri, they were founded by entrepreneurs. And it is said that the statistics are nearly 50% of veterans, when they left the military, started their own business, had some sort of, small business owner or a small business. And now it's under 4%. And I think it's about 3.5% of veterans that are military founded businesses throughout the country. And I that burdens me, because I feel like this country was built on the back of entrepreneurs, and it is the entrepreneur that it's not the politicians. And I'm not saying this in a political term, even though it's associated with a politician. It is the entrepreneur that will continue to make this country great, right? And I think that if we are able to help military founded entrepreneurs, or we are able to grow more military founded entrepreneurs, our economy will improve, our communities will improve. A lot of these social issues that is plaguing our country right now will be resolved, because the military is the most diverse community, a subset of our society, right? And if, Bill's a white guy and Valerie's an Asian girl, and I don't know your name, but, Black female, if other veterans can see us being successful as a diverse community, then I just really think that a lot of the social issues will be diminished. And, like I said before, veterans tend to have an inherent love for God and country. And that means starting with building our communities. We hire other veterans, which will help with veteran unemployment, which when you have veteran unemployment, hopefully that eliminates veteran suicide. Giving back to our communities, our education systems, and our all public service, all the things. I just think that, I think that entrepreneurship is possibly the foundation of the success in all of those areas.
I love that. And I absolutely agree with that piece of it. Hence why we're doing what we're doing. I'm going to ask her this in a second, but I'm going to throw my ask out. This is a part of the community that we're trying to grow, right? That means we rely on y'all, right? When we hold these events, with the grace of the boss lady, we will be back here many times to highlight other local veterans, highlight what the veteran community is doing here in Tampa. A big piece for us is we need those introductions. We need those connections. My ask is to not leave here without introducing yourselves to each other. Coming up to Taylor and I, my better half, Taylor, please give her a round of applause, because if y'all knew the nonsense she put up with when I dragging her across the country doing events like this. We have an event here. We have an event tomorrow night in Virginia Beach. Then if y'all know General Petraeus, we're hosting him this coming Monday in Atlanta for 3 events all on the same day. And she's my wing woman attached to all the things, my battle buddy, if you will. But this is a huge endeavor where we really want to uncover this. And I know everybody in this room knows a veteran. Either you're related to a veteran, you're friends with a veteran, but we want to build this to be more and more and more, so we can highlight amazing missions like this happening in the local community. So I have to ask, you have a room of people, you have so much happening. What can this room do to support you? What introductions could you use right now? How can we just overall further your reach in Tampa?
Well, buy a kit.
Buy a kit.
Because Luminary and Vitech fills my bank account. Action Zone fills my cup.
If we need to start like stabbing people, like we can get, not kidding.
I know.
Yeah. But she's Italian. Watch out.
Yeah. I actually I'm quite amazed at how many people don't have a basic first aid kit. I mean, it really it blows my mind. We give classes at Habitat for Humanity and hurricane preparedness, and I always have an EMT come in and teach how to use a tourniquet. because ultimately that's the number one thing you should have. But aside from that, Action Zone, we do have a couple of cohorts coming up. We have a virtual one in February, and then an in-person one in March that starts. But if you want to get involved with helping either Luminary, Vitec, or Action Zone, introductions to purchasers, but also introductions to potential funders and subject matter experts. We're on the verge of launching what we call the Zone. It's an asynchronous online platform where founders can go in and put their information, and subject matter experts and mentees can also get on the platform. And there's many reasons for that. Mostly so that we can expand outside of, or I should say mostly, one of the reasons is that we can expand outside the Tampa Bay area, because we do serve the entire state of Florida. But we get contacted by veterans across the country. Is Action Zone in Phoenix? Is Action Zone in Cincinnati, St. Louis, you name it. And we've been able to accommodate onesies and twosies if they're like personal friends of ours. But at the end of the day, you know, when you have 30, 35 people in a cohort, it's hard to take the onesies and twosies from across the country. But on there, they'll be able to access some of our programming, and then mentorships and subject matter experts. So you, as somebody who is an expert in business, writing business plans, can go in and look at a company's tile and just be like, oh, I'm an expert in business plan writing, and I see in their business model canvas or their business plan, I can help them. Because I have tried to build, grow, and maintain mentorship programs, and it's a beast, it's miserable. And a lot of times it has to do because it's confined to operating hours, right? So this platform allows the mentee to be like, oh, Zach is an expert in business model or business plan writing. I'm going to get on his calendar. Or you are like, oh, Jennifer, I can help you expand your, education, your school to, a different state. You're going to make an appointment with her. And it takes us as us Action Zone as the owners out of the equation. We will be able to monitor, and we want feedback to see if it's working, because she gets to rate you as a mentor, right, which I think is amazing. That doesn't always happen. And you get to rate her as a founder, like she stood you up 3 times. That's when, first Sergeant and Valerie will come and say, Jennifer, how come you stood Zach up? But yeah, it's going to be it's going to be amazing. So dollars are never short. I mean, never a reason not to.
Not short.
Yeah, they're not short. Their dollars are always short for nonprofits.
Yep.
And subject matter experts and mentees, and then facilitators. In order to be a facilitator for Action Zone, you have to be an entrepreneur. Military service is not a concern in that regard, although we appreciate that because, the familiarity, but you just, not to take anything away from public education, having an MBA or PhD in entrepreneurship, whatever it is, but it's the scars and the black eyes and the lawyers on retainers. My lawyer here, because he needs vitamin D. He gets paid a lot of money. That those are the true lessons that you take forward in teaching entrepreneurship.
And as somebody, we have a virtual platform where each city we're building has that piece of it. So we're creating hubs of contacts. So we have an online community that has Tampa. We're trying to build that out. DC, Virginia Beach. The online platform is a great idea, but oh my gosh, if you've never built it, I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know how the hell he did it, but it's a beautiful thing. So the fact that you're explaining like that, I think is truly amazing. And as we wind down, y'all, I know Crystal's going to kick us out here in the next probably 2 more refills, maybe 3. But I do really encourage, I want to give us enough time for y'all to chit chat a little bit with Valerie, make sure everybody's able to connect. And then of course get refills, because that's what keeps us going at the end of the night. Crystal said yes, that's what keeps us going. But overall, make sure y'all connect with her tonight before y'all leave, get some information, share what we're doing here at the Center Club and how much we want to build the veteran entrepreneurship space, and then how you have such an amazing local resource that is probably being underutilized in a lot of ways. So I really encourage y'all spread that. But if we can, for Miss Crystal and Miss Valerie. Please give them both a round of applause for them. Get a refill, say hi, and then thank y'all for being here. I appreciate y'all. Have a good night.
Yeah.